Welcome back, Stasa23 here, back again with some knife therapy, and today I have for you the Vehement Knives Mongrel. This knife came in at $495, and it was sold, I think, exclusively through DLT Trading. They are sold out as of right now, but that's just their first run. They plan on doing more in the future, and these knives were manufactured in the U.S. by Medford Knife and Tool. Let's get the specs out of the way so you can have an idea of the size of the knife. You have a total length of 7.9 inches, so it's in that medium to large range. You have a blade length of 3.4 inches, a grip area from right here to the back right here of 3.6 inches, a pretty skinny handle at 0.44 inches, and pretty slim in this dimension as well, so at 1.14 inches wide. Blade stock thickness is coming in at 0.123, and the behind the edge thickness on my particular knife is ranging from 30 thousandths at the thinnest portion and 33 thousandths at the thickest portion. And my particular knife is sharpened at 22 degrees on the left side and 30 degrees on the right. Before we go any further, y'all know the deal. Let's do some cutting with it. We're gonna cut up some cardboard with the factory edge. Factory edge is okay. It has a few little hang-ups on it. Almost like it's over polished in some areas too. Let's see how it does. All right, it did okay. When I squeezed the handle a little harder than normal, I did feel the back end of this clip, but I was able to adjust my hand and it was okay. Get off any, let's see. Yeah, that edge definitely probably has some burnt edge on there. It would have definitely been better to sharpen it, but a lot of y'all like me to test them with the factory edge, and I don't really have time to sharpen them all before I test. All right, we're gonna attempt to make 20 cuts of this 1/2 inch twisted scissor rope. May do more, may do less, depending on how it's going. All right, that was terrible. I was able to get, I think, 13 or 14, one of there. It's either because it's so thick behind the edge, it's just, I don't know, or I think it's more so because it has somewhat of a polished edge on it. It's hard to see in this light, and maybe it's over polished, because even thick grind usually will cut. Let's see if it's sharp up there in the front. Hold on. It's kind of sharp up there in the front. It just doesn't have, see, it's stuck right there. Doesn't have any bite to it whatsoever. Alright, we're going to test the ergos and how well this edge is biting in this Pine 2x4. Start out light, and then we'll start putting some more pressure behind the cut. Alrighty, I think that's enough. It made some decent little curls. Definitely not what this knife is intended for. As soon as I started putting, decent bit of pressure into it, if I was trying to do it with the hammer grip, the clip was a major hot spot. You could still see the line right up in there. Very uncomfortable. But if I swapped over to the saber and kind of let the top of the knife rest in the palm like that, it was a little bit better. But it's not the most comfortable ergos in that manner. So also the edge was not wanting to bite. Plus the geometry is so thick, it's not made for those type of cuts. All right, we're going to try cutting up several different types of material. First, starting with leather, and I'll put the name of the rest on the screen. All right. It struggled. It struggled with about everything. You can see that blister that it just formed on my hand. Awesome. It's just not super sharp. On top of that, it's the geometry is just very thick, so it's very difficult to cut. I mean, this was a prime example. It was just tearing it toward the bottom whenever it was binding up on the sides over here. So good, maybe combat knife, maybe, I don't know so far about EDC. I will try to sharpen it up soon and do some more of these and see if it makes a big difference. Alrighty, I hope y'all enjoyed that. Let's take a closer look at this. You have a very sexy clip point blade here with that nice attractive top swedge. I think if you have a clip point, if you don't have that top swedge, it just doesn't look right. You also have dual fullers that seem to maybe have like a blasted finish on the inside of that. You have a horizontal satin, like a belt satin on the flats, and a vertical satin on the primary and the swedge. You got a nice point for piercing, and it's robust enough to do some heavier tasks. No jimping up top, but it wasn't needed in any of the cutting I did. You got a nice flat spot to put your thumb, and you have a nice guard right here from this choil and the flipper tab. You have somewhat of a sharpening choil right here. You do have a smile already forming from sharpening, or from the factory edge on here. And my particular knife, it didn't come super sharp from factory. It almost had like a mirror polished bevel on it, so I think it was just over polished. It had no bite to it. You can see that in the rope cutting that I was doing. It just, geometry paired with not having any bite to the edge, it was just sliding off the rope, making it very difficult to get through any of it. Close it up. The action on this knife is very nice and snappy. It's riding on ceramic bearings and a ceramic detent ball, and very tight tolerances there. You can barely even see inside there, hardly any space in there. I'm sure there's pocketing on the titanium itself. A pretty large flipper tab right there. Not something that bothers me, but I know that will bother some people. You do have some grippy jumps on the flipper tab, and I've found that it's a lot more comfortable to do the light switch method, and it comes out very snappy, nice and smooth action, and it's breaking in more and more the more I use it. You can also do the push button. I just find it not to be the most comfortable of the methods of opening. That's just my preference though. All right, the lockup on the knife is absolutely rock solid. You can't muscle any play whatsoever, left to right, up or down, side to side, whatever. Also, my lock is sitting at around, I don't know, 40-50%. And I'm guessing they must have carburized the lock face, because I didn't have any lock stick on mine. There is no lock bar insert. I know that bugs a lot of people, but if the lock's done right, it should be okay. That's not saying it definitely will be, but it should be. Access to that lock bar is good. The lock side has a nice deep chamfer on the lock side right there. You can see. Close it up. Your handle scales are flat titanium with a good chamfer going all the way around the knife, and they broke all the hard edges, so there's no sharp edges where they don't need to be. You have a two-tone anodizing on here. I mean, two different looks. You have the bronze anode on my particular knife. They had blue, and I don't remember all the colors, but they had a few different variations. And then they had this faux bolster up top where it was all anodized, and then they did a brush finish to the titanium. It's kind of hard to see it. They just basically took some fine sandpaper and took the anode off right here, and you can tell that because it's still anode around the sides. Just a nice little touch. Your pivot is a Torx T8, and it's somewhat, I mean, I guess you could call it decorative. It has a little, circle around it. I don't know if that's like a collar, a pivot collar. I have no idea, being that mine's both the same color. Your body screws are T10. And that's not too often you see that, where your pivot's smaller than your body screws. And your clip screws are T8 as well. So T8 on the pivot and the clip screws, T10 on your body screws. These body screws are nice and tight fitment there, absolutely no wiggle. And the T8's good as well. The clip screws are a little bit shallower than the the pivot, but they were good to go as well. You just have a regular bent titanium clip with the Vehement name on it, and made in the great US of A. You have a large lanyard tube in there for all the lanyard people. Yay! No, I'm not a lanyard guy. And as you can see, this side's nice and clean because they put the lock bar cut out on the inside. I love that. I think it looks so much better. And while we have the knife open, you can see it's a flow-through construction with two standoffs and that lanyard tube. You don't have any internal milling, but being that the knife is skinny, it's rather, I thought it was going to be a lot heavier of a knife. You hear made by Medford, and he's known for, making super boat anchors. But here lately, he's been making more EDC friendly size knives. 123 grams. All right. And 4.37 ounces. So definitely good to go for me. All right, let's check the knife out in the pocket. It carried well. The clip has enough ramp on there. I didn't find it have any troubles going in and out of the pocket. And Let me see. Let me set it. It does come away from the pocket a good little bit just because of the curvature of the handle and that the clip's following that. But I had no problems getting my hand in there, even though it has that egregious tip on the flipper tab. Comes out nicely, and you have a place to grab a hold to it. Now it is tip up, right hand carry only. Unfortunately for the lefties, you have to take it up with the designer. Some quick size comparisons since this is a brand new model. The only knife that I had that was almost identical is another clip point. This is the A-Purvis Blades Primordial MK2. These two are very similar in length. The Mongrel has it beat by just a hair. And then we have a Medford knife. This is the Medford Praetorian Slim. As you can see, the Slim's a little bit smaller. Two more common blades. We have the PM2, Spyderco PM2. Pretty close in length to the PM2. The PM2 is about a 1/4 inch longer. And here's the Para 3. So in between those two, closer to the PM2 though. And we have the Benchmade 940, another good length reference at least. 940 is about the same length. And the Spyderco Schliesch Bowie. The Schliesch Bowie is a little bit shorter. And two more knives. This knife reminds me of a flipper version of the Buck 110 or the 112 or the 55, whatever. And as you can see, it's in between the 110 and the Buck Ranger right here. I would say, yeah, it's right in between. All right, nitpicks and complaints. Never like doing these. I wish they would have extended the sharpening choil so you wouldn't have that funky edge termination right there, because that's only going to get worse the more you sharpen it. And while we're talking about that, this knife is extremely thick behind the edge. I mean, you can actually feel it whenever you pull down like this, the thickness behind the edge. I might throw in a still shot up here if I remember of like the back side of this so you could actually get a better idea of how thick it is. At 30 to 33 thousandths, that's, I mean, my Hinders range from 18 thousandths to 22 thousandths. So people say those are thick. This is a thicken. I'm thinking about maybe sending it to get a hollow regrind on here. The only problem with that is they have this exposed detent ball track. So if you come up into that, you'll be into that detent ball track. So I don't know. I don't know if it'll be possible or not. Sure, it could be. Just risk messing the knife up. Also, let's see. I kind of touched on this, but the jimping, the last jimp on the flipper tab is kind of aggressive, a little bit of sharp. It starts to bother me after a little while. You know, doing the light switch is not as bad, but you know it's gonna probably start wearing at your hands depending on, you know, how tough your fingers are. Mine are just messed up, so maybe it might not mess with you. Next thing, that this is just a big nitpick of mine, and I don't know, it drives my OCD crazy. The blade to handle ratio on this is pretty bad, and it's because of this lanyard tube that they put in there. You could have left the lanyard tube out and you could have still tied a lanyard to that post, because I mean, look how high up the edge is. Even if you brought the edge all the way to the back, you could literally chop that whole part off right there and it'd still be fine. It's not the end of the world, just, you know, something that bugs me. At least the blade is nice and centered. You know, whatever. And lastly, something that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, and that's why I test knives. Whenever I did my initial grip test, this pocket clip being so high up right here, it gives me a hot spot bad. So if you're a fidgeter, this isn't the knife to fidget with. When it comes to this pocket clip, in my opinion, I loosened mine up and pushed it as far over as I could because mine was almost to over the edge right here. But I did notice whenever I was doing all the cutting, I was able to put my palm on top right here and kind of lift it up and kind of missed that clip. Only time I really started feeling it again is whenever I was doing the wood shaving. And I think that's mainly because this knife wasn't biting that well because it was not super sharp. So I don't know. I'm very happy to see another U.S. knife out on the market. I like the overall aesthetics of the knife, but at $495, there's a lot of great knives for that kind of money. So I'm kind of wishy-washy on it. If it wasn't so thick behind the edge, I think I could look past everything. It would be an excellent cutter. You know, it looks nice. It's got good action. Medford makes a good knife. They have good warranty. So, I don't know. This is their first design, so I will definitely be tuning into the next run and to see what they do next, because Matt Martin of Vehement Knives, really cool dude. I got to meet him at Blade Show, I think this year, and he's very nice guy. Definitely interested to see what they do next. I love the fact that they use 3V blade steel. I love it, even though it's not a stainless. Just take care of your knives and you won't have to worry about it. So there you go. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute wonderful day. And I'm going to go take some medicine because I don't feel good. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.